All right, guys, coming at you with another quick one. If you're here, you've probably got some sort of clunking noise up front and it's driving you nuts. You might have already been doing some troubleshooting, or this may be your first time looking into it. So a little bit of background on my truck. It's got a tasteful 1.5 inch lift is what it ends up with. Bilstein 5100s all around, Icon 1.5 inch add a leaf, Old Man Emu 887s up front. I'm rocking a OEM skid as well as a transmission skid by RCI, some steel bumpers, a 9,500 pound winch. So that all that stuff up front kind of gives me about 1.5 inches instead of 2 inches. Anyhow, a common area where I would hear that clunk noise up front would be like coming into the driveway or out of it. So as the vehicle kind of came up and bumped over, I'd have like a clunk. Really was driving me nuts, couldn't figure it out. So some of the areas I started was I jacked up the front, took off a tire, loosened and retorqued the upper control arm bolts to proper spec. I went and did the sway bar end links, loosened them, retorqued them to proper specs. I went underneath to the lower control arms and checked that everything was properly tightened there to like 135, I believe. Quick test drive, even pulling out of here, had the clunk noise, unsure what was causing it for a while, and it was driving me nuts. I was about to go take it by the dealership. Anyhow, if you are rocking multiple skids, a decent place to start would be getting up under here and checking out your skid plate, as silly as it sounds. So that's where the RCI and the OEM made up. So this works also for people with CBI skids, and I'm sure a lot of other transmission skid offerings, since they're pretty similar. So if you're not familiar with it and you don't have them, this video unfortunately is probably not going to help you out. But that OEM plate normally just bolts right on, but when you're adding the skid plate, you use longer hardware and a bushing, and you kind of sandwich in the transmission skid up in there. The torque specs are probably much lower than you'd think. So for the two big main 17s, those are only like 32 foot-pounds. And then the final one in the back, the final pair that actually holds the trans skid, is only like 21 foot-pounds, or pound-feet if we're being proper. So I took the trans skid off, put the OEM, kept the OEM on, tightened it up, drove around, went around the block, went down a little trail near the house. No noise. So immediately I knew where the issue was finally, and I ended up making sure to loosen everything on the OEM skid plate, get it all nice and aligned, allot the extra space to get the trans skid up in there. I put it in, then I also put in an extra set of very thin fender washers right up here. So I'm going to try to zoom in. You can see that fender washer, and you can see that polypropylene bushing there. Those are tightened in right at the 21 or 22 foot-pounds. And now there is no noise. So if you're hearing a banging sound underneath and you really can't figure it out, you've got aftermarket transmission skids or a full set of skids, go ahead and check your skid plates. I was working through this on the forums on Tacoma World, and I am astounded at how many people this has helped. So I'm hoping this will help you guys out.